Hello friends, in this session we will be discussing about alternator as a single phase transformer. Let's begin. Yes, now from this particular session we will be entering into synchronous machine. Right. Now we have previously studied about transformer, probably in machine 2 I guess, right? We have already studied about transformer, right? Now, we have previously discussed about that transformer primary will act as motor, transformer primary acts as motor, and we have studied that transformer secondary acts as generator. Reason is motor is absorbing electrical power, so transformer primary also absorbs electrical power. Generator, which means transformer secondary delivers electrical power, so generator also delivers electrical power. So basically if we think of that, transformer primary is same as motor, transformer secondary same as generator. So now we will be talking about as to how they are same, both are same, and basically what we are going to discuss is alternator as a single phase transformer. Means alternator as a single phase transformer, meaning that, see here, basically student may say that sir, alternator, first of all let me tell you, let me clear the things. Alternator is nothing but synchronous generator only. We are studying synchronous, right? This is nothing but synchronous generator. From this particular session itself we are going to enter into synchronous. Before that we have studied all the basics which are required in order to understand synchronous machine or DC machine or induction machine. Those were all the basics. From now we are going to talk about synchronous and synchronous. Yes, at times I may say that transformer primary is same as synchronous motor. I may say that transformer secondary is same as synchronous generator. But yes, because at the end when we are talking about transformer or synchronous, or in case of DC machines, induction and all, at the end everything will be same. Everything will be unified to a single point. That is the reason we are going to see that how a particular transformer can also be like an alternator, how a transformer be like a synchronous motor. We are going to analyze it in detail. And then, since now student may say that sir, but alternator, which is nothing but synchronous generator, right, it is actually three phase. Yes, of course it is three phase, but then you are comparing it with single phase transformer, sir. How it is possible? Yes, why? Because see here, for understanding three phase, let us first start from the scratch. Let us first make the foundation very clear. I mean to say that whatever conclusions we will get from this analysis, what did I say? Whatever conclusions or observations you can say, conclusions, the same conclusions we will get in armature reaction of synchronous generator. Means after some time, after some lectures and all, I will explain you what is going to be armature reaction of an alternator, and whatever observations from there, the same observations will be shown here. Means at the end it should be like you need not remember anything. That is my intention. You need not remember anything. Means it may happen that exams and all, you may be like sir, I forgot about it, I forgot about reaction and all, armature reaction and all. So basically we are going to create the foundation step here only, and we are going to analyze it from a single phase transformer point of view, and then at the end we are going to club it. So let's begin. Yes, so now see here, let us think of single phase transformer. Now from the single phase transformer also we need to understand few things so that we can apply them to the alternator. So let us first quickly revise what is a transformer. We'll do it very short, don't worry. See here, let me have a transformer here like this. Let this be the primary winding. See, transformer you have already studied, so I may not need to explain the same things again, right? Now see here, If I have applied some voltage here, let us say AC voltage here, plus minus AC, let us say this is V1 if I have applied here, right? What is going to happen here? Then since V1 is applied, some current I0 is going to flow through these windings, right? Now I0 is flowing through N1 number of turns. What did I say? I0 is flowing through N1 number of turns. So we have known that MMF. What is MMF? MMF is nothing but number of turns into current, and flux is going to be nothing but MMF upon reluctance. Reluctance of the core, basically. Reluctance of the core, right? So if you see here, I0 flowing through N1, what is going to happen? Flux is going to be produced. So here I will have flux. I mean to say C, because of I0 flowing through N1 number of turns, MMF is created, and flux is what? MMF upon reluctance only, which means flux is created because of them. So here flux is going to be, let us say, like this. Now what will be the direction of flux? Let us see here. This is like this. See, I0 which is there, it is flowing this way, right, into the wall from here. So flux will be shown by the thumb. So if flux is shown by the thumb, flux is going to be like this. Let us say this is phi naught, right? Now see here, if for example this secondary, now you please tell me this particular flux phi naught, right, linking N1 number of turns. The moment flux is linking this N1 number of turns. Now you please tell me, if V1 is sinusoidal, then I0 is also sinusoidal, right? Then phi naught is also sinusoidal. Actually, let me tell you one thing, just for the time's sake, this I0 is not sinusoidal, it is basically peaky sinusoid. But you don't think about it much, we don't need those stuff. That we will discuss probably in the harmonic analysis and all of the transformer. Time will come, let us say. But for timing, let me tell you, V1 is sinusoid, phi naught is also sinusoid. So now N1 and phi naught is there. We know that induced voltage E is going to be minus N d phi by dt. Already we know that. Right. Now you please tell me, since V1 is changing with respect to time, means V1 is sinusoid, I0 is sinusoid, phi naught is sinusoid, which means they are going to change in time like this. The moment with respect to time, all of them are changing. What is going to happen? What is going to happen then? This flux which is there, it is also going to change. Why? Because AC supply. Since your AC supply is there, this flux is also changing with respect to time. How do I know that flux is time displaced? Because let me sit here. Let me sit here on the core. I am sitting there like a lazy bug, and I am doing some sort of time pass, let us say. What do I observe here? Flux. If you see here, flux also will be how? Sinusoidal only. So flux is like 0, positive maximum 0, negative maximum 0, right? So what I observe here, that when I am sitting here, right, when I am sitting here doing time pass, what do I observe? Flux is changing. So if flux is changing, which means EMF has to be induced here, because d phi by dt. So d phi by dt linking n number of turns, which means here EMF will be induced, moral of the story, depending on the flux and number of turns. Depending on the change of flux and turns, what is going to happen? EMF is going to be induced. So let me have that EMF here, plus minus E1. Is that okay? Now see here. Now see. Do you believe that the same flux will be linking the secondary turns N2 also? Do you believe that? Yes. So the same flux travels here like this, right? So if the same flux is traveling here, which means depending on N2 and this flux phi naught, what did I say? Depending on N2 and this flux phi naught, I will have E2 here, induced voltage E2. Now see here, let me have a load here connected like this. This is load. The moment load is going to be connected here, I2 current will flow. Why I2? Because of secondary, right? EMF is already there. The moment I have load here, I2 will flow. Now you please tell me, I2 flowing through N2 number of turns, what is going to happen? It is going to create its own flux, which is nothing but phi 2. I2 flowing through number of times N2 will create its own flux phi2. Of course. Now you please tell me what will happen inside. Help me about it. See, it may happen that this phi naught and phi2 which is there, this phi2 will try to disturb phi naught, right? This phi2 will try to disturb phi naught, which means net flux is varied. Am I right or wrong? This phi2 which is there, see here, initially before having the load, just assume that this particular load is not there. The moment this load is not there, if you observe, there was only one flux phi naught, and depending on this phi naught and N1, E1 was induced. Depending on phi naught and N2, E2 was induced, right? So you please tell me, whenever I have load here on the secondary end, I2 started flowing. The moment I2 started flowing, I2 is flowing through N2 number of turns like this, right? Because of this, phi2 will be created. Means I2 flowing through N2, phi2 is created. Now you please tell me, now inside the core, how many fluxes are there? One flux or two flux? Two flux are there. Am I right? Two flux are there. So don't you believe that this phi naught and phi2, this phi2 will try to disturb my phi naught? Of course. So net flux will be varied. But remember here one thing. But see here, remember one thing. In case of transformer, when I say net flux is varied, which means armature reaction is there. What do you mean by armature reaction first? Armature reaction means net flux distribution is changed. Now you please tell me, is the net flux distribution changed? 99% of the people will say yes, because phi2 is there, right? But yes, you need to remember one thing. In case of transformer, when we talk about, see here what is going to happen. Let me consider one more here. Don't worry, I'll come back to it soon. See, for example, let us assume that, see, net flux distribution will be changed according to you, right? According to you means according to us. See, net flux distribution is changed. For example, we assume that net flux distribution is changed. Changed means either it will be increased, flux will be increased, or maybe decreased, right? So now let me just assume that it is decreased. Let us just say that it is decreased. Means I am saying that this phi2 which is there, phi2 is there, it is going to, let us say, oppose. Why not? Let us say that it is because net flux is changed. We have agreed, but that change has to be either increased or it has to be decreased. What has to be increased? Flux. So let us assume that flux is decreased here. Now you please tell me, the moment net flux, let me call it as resultant flux phi r. Let me just call it resultant flux phi r. The moment resultant flux changes, what is going to happen? For example, if this resultant flux is reduced, let us say, the moment resultant flux is reduced, what is going to happen? Depending on this decreased flux linking with N1, E1 is going to be decreased, right? Because E1 is produced because of N1 and phi naught. But now, along with phi naught, phi2 is also there. And we are assuming that this both of them are opposing each other, which means resultant flux in the core is actually decreased. The moment resultant flux is decreased, you just see here, E1 will also decrease. Why? Because E is nothing but equal to minus n d phi by dt, right? So if flux is decreased, what is going to happen? EMF is also going to be decreased. So E1 is going to be decreased. Same flux phi r will flow through here also, which means E2 is also going to be decreased, right? Now you please tell me what is going to happen. The moment this E1 is decreased, what is going to happen? Let us see. The moment E1 is decreased, for this let me take one simple example, network example. See, let us do it here. Yes. See here. Let me have one network here. Let us say that this is 100 volts. This is also 100 volts. This is 1 ohm. This is also 1 ohm. Let us say. Now you please tell me how much is the current? How much is the current? Current is going to be 0 ampere, right? Why it is 0? Very simple. Let us apply, what do you say, KVL here. For example, current is moving like this. What is going to happen? This is minus 100. This is minus plus, right? Minus 100, and we know that current always flows through positive terminal. In case of passive elements, already we know that from the networks basics, right? See here, minus 100 is going to be there. Then what we have is, we have plus. Let us say this current is I. Okay, so this is going to be plus 1 into I, plus 1 into I, plus 100, which is going to be 0. Now what is going to be there? 2I, I plus I is 2I, minus 100 plus 100 is going to be 0. So I is equal to 0. Am I right? Yes. Now let us take one more. Very important, please focus. See, let me consider one more here. Same example, let me take 100 volts, 1 ohm. Now what I will do is, I will just reduce this to 80 volts. Why I am doing it, you will understand soon. See, now let us apply KVL here. How much is I? How much is I here? If you see, this is minus plus, plus minus. So minus 100 plus I plus 80 equal to 0. So if you see here, what is going to happen? 2I minus 20 is going to be 0. So I is equal to how much? 10 amperes. Right? I will be 10 ampere. Now see here, what I want to tell you is, see, now in the first and foremost assumptions, we have seen that in case of transformer primaries and motors, they will be connected to what? Ideal voltage source. Ideal voltage source means, do you think that V1 will change? No, means V1 is going to be fixed. Am I right? V1 which is there, it will be fixed. So now if V1 is fixed, now let us just see here, and E1 has been reduced here because of the load, right? So just see here what is going to happen. Let me just call this one as V1 and let me just call this one as E1. Same story, right? Same story is going to be there. Just as V1 is there, E1 is going to be there here. Just as, see here, just as V1 is here, E1 is here. Same story here. Just that it is in AC, this is in DC, but it's okay. How does that matter much? Anyways, now see here. This is V1, this is E1. This is also same. Now in the second case also, what I did, I kept V1 as constant. Why? Because V1 is going to be ideal voltage source. We already know that from the assumptions video. Now this is going to be E1, which is changed, right? Now you please tell me, this E1, it was initially 100 volts, now it is going to be 80 volts, which means it has been decreased. So what happened to the current? When E1 was same 100 volts only, this I was 0, right? But when it became 80 volt, current got increased, right? So current got increased, right? Which means when E1 is reducing, some extra component of current is going to be there. Some extra component of current is flowing, right? So when some extra component of current is flowing, see here, yes, see here, when E1 is reducing, some extra component of current is going to flow, which means here some extra component of current I2 dash is going to flow, because E1 is going to be reduced. Now why it is going to be decreased? Because flux is changed. The moment flux is reduced, why? Because load is there. Means because of I2, I am going to have I2 dash current here, which is going to be extra component of current. This is also called as secondary component of the current, right? Or we can say load component also. So if you see here, because of this load, more current I2 dash flow here. Now if you see, I2 dash is also flowing through the same winding like this. So because of this I2, one more flux will come, which is phi 2 dash. Am I right or wrong? So now see here, this is phi 2 dash, this is phi 2, this is going to be phi 2 dash. So phi 2 and phi 2 dash are opposing each other. When I say that phi naught is opposing phi 2, see here, when I say that phi 2 and phi naught are opposing each other. Now in the same direction of phi naught, phi 2 dash is there. So now now can I say that phi 2 dash is also opposing phi 2? Right? So basically the same story. Enemy's friend is enemy again. Enemy's friend, enemy again, right? So now this is going to be phi 2 dash. Now if you think of here, phi 2 and this particular phi 2 dash will what? Cancel out each other. Means, see here, if let us say resultant flux phi r is again decreased more, then in that case what is going to happen? E2 will again decrease more, E1 will again decrease more, E1 will again decrease more, which means phi 2 dash will again increase more, means phi 2 dash will also increase more, which means phi 2 and phi 2 dash will be exactly compensating each other. Right? Now let us think of here. Let me just tell you small thing. Let us try to draw the phasor diagram for this one. See here. Let me draw the phasor diagram. Already we have studied the phasor diagram. This is going to be phi naught. Right? And here what we have is E1 and E2, right? Let us say that it is a step down transformer, let us say, so this is E1 and this is E2, for example. Right? What we actually do is we basically take this E1 from here and lift it up like this. E1 is here, right? So we are just going to negate it like this. So this is going to be minus E1, which we say that it is going to be V1 also, right? Now see here, minus E1 is equal to V1. Anyways, whatever it is, E1 was here, we just projected that E1 upwards, so it is going to be minus E1, which is equal to V1. Now we know that, see here, if for instance I am saying that this particular I2, this load is, let us say, lagging load, then what is going to happen? Lagging load means I2 is going to be here. The moment I2 is going to be here, phi 2 is also going to be in phase with I2. Now you please tell me, phi 2 is here, we have seen that phi 2 dash will come. Phi 2 dash will come like this, phi 2 dash, right? And for this phi 2 dash, I2 dash has to be there. Already we know. Now we know that since phi 2 and phi 2 dash are exactly equal and opposite to each other, can I say that in loading conditions also, when transformer is loaded, that particular case also, can I say that the flux, net flux which is there, it is going to remain phi naught only. Why? Because see, phi 2 came, right? Phi 2 dash came again. See here. Original flux was this much only. Original flux was how much? Phi naught. No load flux, right? No load flux. But what happened is, because of this I2, phi 2 came, and we have seen now, we have analyzed now that phi 2 will be exactly compensated by phi 2 dash. So we can say that phi 2 and phi 2 dash never existed. Let us see. In no load, in case of no load, if you see, phi naught was the flux, right? In case of loading, what happened? Phi naught came. With that phi naught, what came? Phi 2 came, right? And in order to compensate that phi 2, again phi 2 dash came, means minus phi 2 dash came, and we know that both are equal and opposite to each other, which means both are going to cancel out, which means even at loading conditions also the flux in the core is phi naught. which means my statement here that net flux is going to be varied and because of that armature reaction is going to be there is wrong, because see here, no load flux is going to be phi naught, loaded conditions also it is going to be phi naught, which means there is automatic compensation of the flux, automatic compensation of the flux. Now if you see here, which means can I say that transformer has no armature reaction, because armature reaction means what? Net flux distribution is changed. But if you see here, at no load also flux is phi naught and at load also it is going to be phi naught, which means net flux is not varied, which means transformer has no armature reaction. Yes, so now in the first half an hour we actually quickly revise the transformer, right? That that basically this thing, what observation we have is that since in case of transformer armature reaction is not going to be there, and since armature reaction is not going to be there is, which means that automatic compensation is there in case of transformer because of I2 dash, because of presence of I2 dash in transformer, automatic compensation of the load is going to be there. That is the reason armature reaction in case of transformer, because what happens is, student feels sir but armature reaction is only and only for synchronous or for induction or for DC machine, but no, armature reaction, people are not talking about armature reaction in case of transformer because basically they don't know. Basically see here, armature reaction means what? Flux distribution of the core, if it is changing with respect to my load, then it is called as armature reaction. But many authors, if you think of like Bimra also, authors, they don't discuss with you armature reaction of the transformer. Why? Because armature reaction is not happening in transformer, but we need to analyze it and then we just fix it in the brain that yes, armature reaction in transformer is not there. Why? Because of I2 dash, because of the compensation. Right? Now see here, let me take two cases here. Here I will take transformer, here I will be talking about transformer, single phase transformer, and here I will be talking about synchronous generator as a transformer, right? Let us see. Let me have a rotor, let me have a stator like this. Right? Now see here, let me have a winding, right? Now let me have a rotor here like this, statically induced EMF and all, remember, right? Now what I'm doing is I'll have some winding here on this rotor, right? Now what I'm doing is very important. See, let me tie this rotor here, which means being a rotor it is not going to rotate. See, this is a rotor, I'm strictly going to tie it to the stator like this, which means now it cannot rotate. Tries to rotate, no, don't rotate like this. Now what I'm doing is, let me supply, very important, let me supply here AC. Now you please tell me what is the difference between the previous figure and this figure. This is also transformer, right? Whole thing is a transformer. In transformer also, if you see, winding was there like this, the same structure is going to be there here also. Alright, so this is nothing but the primary, this is nothing but the secondary of the transformer, right? See here, now since the rotor is tied to the stator, it is not going to rotate. Now let us just discuss it in short. See, V1 is there. Now you please tell me what will there be any induced EMF here? Yes, see here. Since it is AC, since it is alternating, there will be flux flowing like this here. Because of this, which is going to be, let us say, pi naught flux, and I naught current is going to flow. Right? I naught current will flow through this winding like this, and here phi naught will be there. Now, let me connect some load here. Some load. Leading, lagging, doesn't matter. Let me have some load. Now see, this particular flux phi naught flowing through this winding, what is going to happen? I am going to get some induced EMF here, plus or minus E1. Similarly, I will get some induced EMF here, plus or minus E2, depending on number of turns N2 and N1. See, depending on flux phi naught and N1, E1 is created. Depending on flux phi naught and N2, E2 is created. Now, see here. The moment I have loaded this machine, I2 is going to flow. Right? Which means here again flux will come, which is nothing but phi 2. Right? Whether it may oppose or it may not oppose. Aid it. It is there. But 100% possibility is there. Net flux is going to be red. Net flux will be varied. Net flux will be varied. Am I right? But then when this net flux is varied, what is going to happen? I2 dash is going to flow here. And this I2 dash will produce one more flux here, which will be phi 2 dash. Right? And then at the end, what will happen is net flux will remain constant. Right? And let me have the phasor diagram here. Let me have the phasor diagram. See, let me just have the phasor diagram. Here is going to be phi naught. Right? Now, here is going to be E2, and E2 and E1 are in same phase, right? Are in phase, but what I am going to consider, this E1, I am going to lift it up like this. Means the moment if I am making E1 here, this becomes minus E1. Right? The moment this becomes minus E1, we call it as V1. Minus E1 equal to V1. And let me think of this phi 2. Let me think of I2 here. Why? For example, I am assuming that this load, this particular load, let us say this load is lagging in nature, so I will have I2 here. Now, because of this I2, phi 2 will come. Right? The moment phi 2 is going to be there, phi 2 dash is going to be there. And because of this phi 2 dash is there, which means I2 dash has to be there. For sure we know that. And we have studied that this phi 2 dash and phi 2 are going to nullify each other. Am I right? Now see what is going to happen. Let us think of. Now see here, as we have been already discussing, we discussed that the secondary part of the transformer will be same as generator, right? And the primary part of the transformer will be same as motor. Already we have discussed it many times, right? Now see here, what is going to happen in synchronous generator, let us say. Let us come to here. I will draw the same figure. And then we will discuss. See. Yes. Now see, here I gave supplies AC, right? Here if you see, I gave supplies AC. Now let me supply here DC. VDC, let us say. VDC. And here the rotor is not tied, which means it is free to rotate. So now let me rotate this one in this direction, let us say omega. Let me rotate it. Why? Because we are thinking about synchronous generator. Generator case, what is going to happen? My rotor, I have to rotate it by using a prime mover like this, right? Of course. Now, see here. You please tell me. Because of this VDC, right, IDC current will flow here. Remember that here it was AC, here it is DC now, right? IDC current will flow. This current is flowing through this winding, which means what is going to happen? Flux is going to be in upward direction. Means what? Flux is going to outgoing from here, right? Again, see here. Flux will be outgoing from the rotor. If flux is going to be outgoing from rotor, this becomes north pole and this becomes south pole, and this is going to be rotated. Now, let me sit on the stator here. When I am sitting on the stator, what do I observe? See here. See here. I observe that whenever north pole is here, south pole is here, flux is going to be in this direction, right? After some time, N will come here, S will go there, because I am going to rotate it here like this, right? So after some time, N will come here, S will come here, which means flux will be 0. Then after some time, S will go up, N will come here, which means now flux will be moving in this direction. Now 0, positive max, 0, negative max, 0, positive max, 0, negative max, which means flux is going to be changed or not in this core? Yes. So when flux is changed in this core, what is going to happen? The moment flux is changed in this core, what is going to happen? Here I will get some induced EMF, right? Now previously we used to call that induced EMF as E2, right? Now in this case I will be calling it as EF. EF means, sir, EF means EF is the induced voltage which is induced when there is no load current and EF is induced. EF means induced voltage because of the field. This is going to be the field. Means whatever flux will be here going through here like this, I will be calling that flux as phi F. From now, whatever flux will be flowing here, I will be calling it as phi F. Phi F means field flux. Right? And this is called as induced EMF due to the field. Am I right? Are you all understanding this point? Now, let me load this. Let me just load this and see what is going to happen. If I load this here like this, let me have some load here. What is going to happen? Some current is going to flow through this. Initially, in the first case, we used to call it as I2. Alright. Now we are going to call the same current as IA. IA is what? Armature current. Let me just write it here. Armature current. IA will be nothing but armature current. Now you just observe here. See. Since IA is flowing through N2 number of turns, IA is flowing through N2 number of turns, what is going to happen? Some flux is going to be produced or not? That flux is called as phi armature. Armature flux, AR, phi AR. Right, why? Because from now this particular winding, I will be calling it as armature. Here, in case of transformer, it was secondary winding. Here, I will be calling it as armature winding, which means this particular N2 will also become now NA, armature number of turns, NA. So IA will be here flowing through this, EF is there, and phi AR is also there. Phi AR is there because of IA. Now you please tell me what will happen to the net flux distribution here. What will happen to the net flux? Let me say this, net flux. Will it be changed or not? 100%, because initially when it was not loaded, I had only one flux which was phi F. But the moment I have this load, I have phi AR as well, which means here if you see, net flux will be varied in the core because initially phi F is there. After having the load, I have what? I have 5F plus 5R. So please focus. Now you please tell me, is there any arrangement or is there any automatic compensation system here? Is there? No. Because in case of transformer, if you see, yes, I hope it is visible now, right? Yes. In case of transformer, if you see, I had I2 dash. But now here, can I have that I2 dash? No. Why? Because this IDC which is there, it is DC. I hope you are understanding my point. See here, this one is going to rotate here like this. This winding, this particular winding will have no induced EMF. Because if here I have this E1 induced EMF, I will not have any induced EMF here. Because flux through my this thing, rotor, is not going to be changed. Flux here, this will remain always and this will remain always as. But by rotating it, my stator flux will change, but rotor flux has to remain same only, right? Now see here, which means here I2 dash concept is not going to be there, which means there is not going to be any compensation of the secondary flux, which means net flux is varied. And if net flux distribution is varied, we call it as armature reaction. So in case of transformer, armature reaction is not there, and in case of synchronous generator, armature reaction will be there, because I2 dash concept is not there, because compensation of the IA, compensation of armature flux is not going to be there. So in the core, I will have armature flux also 5R, and at the same time I will have field flux also, because of which net flux distribution is going to be changed. Now let us think of phasor diagram. See here, we know that. Let me consider, now this is over, right? This is over, let it go. This is over. Let me take case 1. Let me take lagging load. Lagging load in the sense, this armature, right? This is load, right? This load, let us say in case 1, I am having lagging load here, which means inductive load. So let us see how is the phasor diagram for that. This is going to be 5F. Here, as we have, see here. See, in case of transformer, I am going to have 5 naught, and for an alternator or for a generator, we have discussed that we are going to only have lower part of the phasor diagram. Upper part is ignored. Why? Because upper part is going to be applicable for motor, right? So we will be only using this lower part of the phasor diagram. So let us see here what is happening. This is going to be 5F, right? The moment it is 5F, now see, very important. The moment it is 5F, where is going to be induced voltage? Induced voltage here if you see in case of transformer, induced voltage was here, it was E2. So now E2 will be replaced by EF, already we saw. So now here I will have EF. Please note it down. What is EF? EF is going to be what? EMF induced because of flux 5F, or we can say field, because of the field, when IA is not there. What do you mean by IA is 0? IA is 0 indicates that it is no load, which means EF is also called as no load EMF, right? Now see here, this is EF, and this is going to be 5F. Where is going to be IA? See here, in case of transformer, if you see, in case of transformer phasor diagram, if you see, I2 was lagging E2, and I2 is same replaced by IA. So here I2 will come here like this. So this is going to be I2. Is it going to be I2? No, it is going to be IA now, because now we are talking about generator. This is going to be IA. Now you please tell me, will there be any compensating IA dash? No. Will there be compensating phi A dash? No. That arrangement is not possible here. So see here what is going to happen. This is IA. Now because of this IA, there will be flux phi AR which will flow here. Phi AR, right? So you please tell me what will be the net flux distribution in the core. Net flux distribution will be what? Phi F is already there, phi AR is there, which means net flux distribution is going to be addition of them. So this is going to be flux resultant phi R. Now what is this called? This is nothing but parallelogram law of addition of vectors. Already we have studied it probably in M3 and all, right? So this is going to be phi R. Now see here, you please tell me one thing, what happened? See here. Now you please tell me what happened now. Initially I had phi F, because of which EF was there, no problem. Because of phi F, EF was there, no problem. Then I loaded the machine, I got IA. When I got IA, I got phi AR as well. When I got phi AR, phi F plus phi AR is going to be phi R, which means this resultant flux phi R which is there, it got reduced, right? Magnitude, if you see, initially when IA was not there, there was only one flux which was phi F. Length was this much, right? Which was resultant. Now when I loaded the machine, means IA started flowing. IA started flowing means what? Phi AR came into the picture. The moment phi AR came into the picture, this is lagging case by the way, let me remind you. When phi AR came into the picture, what happened? Net flux got reduced. This became the resultant flux. And if you see, magnitude of phi R is less than phi F, which means magnitude of phi R has been reduced. The moment magnitude is reduced, can I say that this is called as demagnetizing? This is called as, means if the net flux is decreased, we say that it is going to be demagnetizing armature reaction. So this is demagnetizing armature reaction. Now see here. Now you please tell me, if the resultant flux is changed, what is going to happen? Don't you think that, because depending on phi R, depending on the field, see here, initially what was there? Phi F was there. Depending on this phi F and NA, EF was produced. Now you please tell me, NA is constant, so now phi F has now reduced to phi R. Initially it was only phi F. When there was no load, there was only one flux which was phi F. Now when I have lagging load, what has happened? Phi F has been decreased. Basically net flux flowing here has been decreased. So if flux has been decreased, don't you think that EF will also decrease? Means EF is also decreased. Means here if you see, EF will be decreased, right? Now is it okay to have decreased EF? Let us analyze. For example, you have socket at your home, right? This is the socket at your home, right? Just imagine a situation at some point of time, for example, at let us say 2 p.m. At 2 p.m. you get 230 volts here, RMS. Okay. Then let us say at 2:30 you get 100 volts. At let us say 5 p.m. you get 150 volts. Is it advisable? Is it good? Why it is not good? Because your appliances at your home will be, see here, your appliances will be operating at some particular voltage rating. That is the reason voltage here at the load side, voltage here should not be changed. It has to remain constant. Now it is the duty of operating engineer. It is the duty of operating engineer to keep these two to keep this voltage constant. Now, what he does is he places some AVR. What is AVR? Automatic voltage regulators. He has automatic voltage regulators. So, what we people actually do is, we keep some automatic voltage regulators in the system such that this voltage which is there is not changed. Right? Now, see here. What is going to happen next? Now, we know that we have understood as to why EF should not change. So, if EF should not be changed, then what has to be done? Now, if I want my EF not to change, not to decrease, if I want my EF not to decrease, what will I do? I will supply more field current such that I will have more phi F. See here, flux magnitude has been decreased 100%. It has been decreased. Because of that, EF has been decreased. So now, in order to keep EF constant, I will inject more field current. I will inject more field current, which means I am going to excite it more. I am going to excite the machine more, which means here if you see, when fire has been decreased, I will have to excite it more. It is called as overexcited condition. This is called as overexcited machine, right? Yes, so the moment EF has been decreased, it has to be not happen. It should not happen, which means now since EF has been decreased, I have to increase the flux in the core in order to make EF constant. If I want to increase the flux in the core, what will I do? I will basically just simply inject more field current into it. Inject more field current means here. This particular field current, IDC, I am going to increase it. So, the moment I increase IDC, which means IDC which is there, that is going to be increased. The moment I flow more field current, what is going to happen? The moment I flow more field current, phi F will increase. Right? So now, in order to maintain constant EF in case of lagging load, which means demagnetizing armature reaction, which means I will have to increase the flux, which means I have to excite the machine more, and hence it is called as overexcited machine. I hope it is clear. Moral of the story. Now let us think of from the point of view of reactive power. Let us see. Reactive power. What will happen to reactive power? Let us see. See, we have discussed that whatever we are discussing right now is for lagging load, right? Lagging load only it is there. So lagging load means what load? Inductive load. Lagging load means inductor. Inductor absorbs reactive power or delivers reactive power? Absorbs reactive power. So Q is absorbed by the inductor. Now, if inductive load is absorbing Q, which means I have to deliver Q. I means generator has to deliver Q. Generator has to deliver Q. I hope you are understanding my point, right? We have already discussed it in the previous session that reactive power. If my load is inductive, for example, I am going to be the alternator. Let us say this is my load. If it is inductive load, it is going to absorb reactive power. Now, which means I have to supply him reactive power. Means I am going to deliver reactive power to the inductor. Now, for example, it is a capacitive load, leading load. Then what is going to happen there? It is going to deliver reactive power, which means generator, I am supposed to absorb the reactive power. So in this case, if you see, inductive load is absorbing Q, which means generator has to supply reactive power. So Here if you see, deliver reactive power. So now what is important for you is just write down the conclusion. Moral of the story is, see, moral of the story is, see here, overexcited alternator. This is basically machine, not alternator, not machine, right? Because machine will have both, right? So overexcited, this you have to note it down. Overexcited alternator delivers, overexcited alternator delivers reactive power and has demagnetizing armature reaction. Note it down, please. Overexcited alternator. Overexcited means it is 100% that the armature reaction is going to be demagnetizing. That is the reason you are overexciting the machine. When my armature reaction is demagnetizing, whenever I have lagging load, right? So overexcited alternator, lagging load means it is going to absorb Q, which means alternator is supposed to deliver Q. That is the reason overexcited alternator delivers reactive power and has demagnetizing armature reaction. Let us think of case 2. This was about case 1, lagging load. In the next, we are going to see case 2. Let us have leading load. Let us see what is going to happen. We know that this has to be 5F, right? The moment it is 5F, because of this 5F, EF is going to become, EF will come here. Now, when EF is there, now since it is a leading load, which means I2 has to lead EF. I2 means IA, armature, which means here I will have 5R. Am I right? So the moment 5R is there and 5F is there in the core, let me just add them. This is going to be the resultant flux in the core. Now, don't you think that? Yes. Don't you think that here flux 5R has been increased, resultant flux has been increased? Yes. Length is more. Now, the moment length is more, which means EF is going to be increased. Right. Now, in order to keep EF constant, what should I do? In order to keep EF constant, what should I do? I need to supply less field current so that I will have less 5F. Getting my point, right? See here, because of this load, because of leading load, what has happened? Net flux or resultant flux has been increased. If resultant flux is increased, EF will be increased. Now, in order to make EF as constant, let me write to make EF constant, otherwise people may think it is constant. To make EF constant, what should I do? I should inject less field current. Which means I have to excite the alternator less, which means it is going to be under excited condition. Am I right? Now, let us think of reactive power. See, since it is a leading load means capacitive dominated load, and capacitive load, what does it do? Capacitive load delivers reactive power. Already we have discussed. So, if capacitive load is here, this is my load, I am the alternator. Capacitive load, if the capacitive load is delivering reactive power, which means I have to absorb reactive power. I means alternator. So reactive power is absorbed, right? So moral of the story is you just have to note down one point here. What is that? Under excited alternator, which means I have to inject field current less, so which means it has to be leading load only. Now under excited alternator delivers or absorbs. See here, under excited means what? I have to give field current less, which means leading load is there. Why? Because in case of leading load, I will be having magnetizing armature reaction. So because of that magnetizing armature reaction, net flux will increase. Net flux will increase means what? EF will increase. What I want EF to remain constant, which means I will decrease the, what do you say, field current. So it is going to be under excited alternator. Under excited alternator does what? Under excited alternator means alternator is supplied by leading load. Leading load, what does that do? Leading load delivers reactive power, which means it will be absorbed by. So under excited alternator absorbs reactive power Q and has magnetizing armature reaction. This is going to be the concluding point. So we have seen that how a single phase transformer secondary acts as a synchronous generator. Thank you.